Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla coming back to ya with another episode of Car Rides Wit SLA. And today I was thinking a lot about this topic that I've been wanting to. No, I actually haven't been wanting to get into it for a while. I don't know where I was going with that. Yeah, I haven't been wanting to get into it for a while. I completely have not been wanting. I just thought of it today, but it was always something that I would get into as I looked into things, and I guess it's interesting that other people don't really notice or think about it or consider it. But obviously, I've heard about the law of attraction, and I've heard about it probably since I was about 14, but then, more so when I was about 16. And I believed it and practiced it for a period of time, although eventually I stopped. And I'm trying to piece together and remember exactly why, but I don't really think there was any rhyme or reason to it other than the fact that I'm usually pretty bad when it comes to that stuff for whatever reason. It's like I get into vitamins. I really want to start taking vitamins and supplements, but I always just end up not doing it. I always I buy them and I'm going to do it and I try doing it, but then eventually I just give up. A lot of those kind of things, it can be tricky for me. So I'm just kind of attributing it to that, or maybe I didn't really feel like there was enough of a reason to, or some of my skepticisms of it maybe were just being further brought to light. And I kind of want to explain the problems I had with it. And I've never heard any of these things addressed by the people who are into the law of attraction. And so I haven't actually looked into it much yet. I would like to at some point, but I haven't actually looked anything up directly pertaining to it. No, I'm just getting a little weirded out because there's a lot of oncoming traffic. And that makes me worried that there's some crazy detour, but I think it was just a coincidence. Anyways, the problem with the law of attraction is a lack of fairness. Because when it comes down to it, if you elevated yourself via the law of attraction, somebody else gets pushed down, inevitably. And I think that would make sense with the people who believe it. Because it's like, if you move up, you're only able to move up if it was at the expense of somebody else moving down, or some type of energy transfer occurring, and you potentially using the law of attraction to become even more successful is just giving you a larger slice of the pie. And I think a lot of this stuff is very objective. Like the things I'm talking about, it is true, if you become richer, you have money that could have went to other people who potentially needed it more. And the other thing with that, sorry, I'm thinking of too many things at once, and I'm kind of annoyed with myself at how this is going, because I don't think I'm doing the best job of explaining it. There's also the issue of what I'm calling predestination and sort of some kind of hierarchy and elitism, which would have to be apparent in order for the law of attraction to be true. Okay. No, I just get tired of people. Sorry. No, it doesn't matter. It's fine. Anyways. Where was I? I don't know where I was now. Oh yeah, there's an inherent elitism to it, because most likely the people who turn to law of attraction, or who hear of it, are likely to be people who are already a bit more conscious. And especially the people who execute it are already going to be people who are probably at an advantage, because a lot of humans I don't think they would get to a point where they have it in them to pursue it. I think there's a lot of people who basically live their life in terms of picking low-hanging fruit, which means any little piece of enjoyment that they can get, they just grab, and they're thinking in the short term, and they're not thinking in the long term. So if that means getting a Big Mac at McDonald's is their treat in their otherwise miserable life, they're going to do that. Because a lot of people, and it's understandable, if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you don't really have much else to look forward to, there's definitely a comfort in materialism and shopping, and it at least gives you something with the little money that you have. And it's hard to think about building for a future when you kind of know that there is no future, and et cetera, et cetera. So the types of people who are going to hear about the law of attraction are most likely already souls or conscious people, conscious humans who are already at an advantage. They probably already have an advantageous life, even if they're in a state of, let's say, poor mental health, as I think I sort of was when I first heard about it. It wasn't like I wasn't in a privileged household, right? And there's plenty of people who are in privileged situations but still have a lot of problems, particularly with mental health or depression, things like that. You can be rich, you can have a really good life and still deal with these problems. Obviously, everybody knows that. And so, but just being in a privileged position, just spending time on the internet, increases your chance of learning about these things. Having time to kill into looking into religion and all these different things. Not everybody has the time or the patience to do so. And the truth is, I could have been in a situation where I needed to be working a job or something, and then I wouldn't have had the free time to learn a lot of the things that I was able to learn. But fortunately, I was never rich, but it was never really... We basically, I always say this, we're firmly middle class, where we didn't indulge in anything really. We didn't have extra stuff, but bills were always paid. There was always food. But we didn't really do that many things or have that much fun, you know? we lived beneath our means, or, and so I was in a very good position to learn about a lot of these higher level concepts, as well as just from my own genetics, caring about God, caring about spirituality, trying to understand the fabric of life. I mean, these are things that some people never get to throughout their whole life, and here I am as a teenager looking into these things. And so that's where I'm saying the whole idea of the law of attraction just seems unfair, and it seems very genetic and elitist. And I do think there's some truth to it, is my culminating point, because it kind of falls in line with my other deductions about things as well, about the nature of reality and whatnot, which is just, I did want to make a side point, because bear in mind, as a teenager, like when I was 12, 11, 10, I did just play video games. I didn't really get into anything serious. I didn't know anything about politics. I didn't, that never really came up, I played video games. I had my DS. I didn't know anything about politics. I didn't know that much about religion. Of course, we went to church every week, but that was about it. I didn't really know too much about any of these things or philosophy, and it all changed when I was 14. I mean, something just very dramatic. I don't know what came over me, but I attribute it to the fact that, partially attributed to the fact that I got really bad acne, and it killed my, I don't know, it really impacted me. I guess I, especially at the time, was very sensitive to how I appeared. And so that really hurt me, and I think made me need to look inward more so than I probably would have if I didn't have that. My entire high school experience would have been 100% different. I mean, it's not even remotely close. So having that happen to me was very traumatic for me. And it basically ruined my social life and my social health for the rest of high school, and made me turn to deeper meaning in life and trying to understand what's going on. Trying to figure this whole mess out. And that's what led me to do that. And I did all kinds of stuff, but it was crazy. It was a huge shift from, if anything, someone who was a total slacker. I always was thoughtful. I was always considerate. I think I was always conscious, for sure. But this was like an explosion, where prior to then, I was still primarily a kid. I don't know. I didn't really do a lot of serious things. Like I said, I was very fine and happy just playing games. Always had friends. There was just not anything wrong with my life. Everything was fine, besides me just being really lazy, I guess. And it all changed when that happened, and at the time I was spending more time on the internet, less time with my IRL friends, and we grew apart. And so it kind of entered this period of isolation that I was never able to escape. And during that time, I learned a lot about philosophy and spirituality and religion. Until the rest of the story, I couldn't take it anymore. Then when I was about 18 or 19, I just plunged into trying so hard to socialize on Discord for, I want to say 17, 18, 19, 20. And then now for the past few years, it's basically been minimal of that. Where the few times I have, I just got burned as usual, you know. So that's why I feel like I'm gonna re-enter being a hermit. It's just, I don't know, I get my social from this, I guess, and it's just, you know. But in a lot of ways, I got really far with the law of attraction. I did get to a point where I felt amazing. I mean, I just felt happy. Like, I genuinely felt happy. And in retrospect, I always thought it was just a manic episode, but I guess now I'm revisiting that consensus. I mean, maybe it wasn't a manic episode. Maybe that was a true manifestation of engineering oneself into being happy. And it was crazy because I'm an arguer, and I always have been that way, because I think it's important when people are making incorrect claims that end up causing harm for them to be corrected, and for them to be corrected accurately. And so that was always how I was. I was always trying to do that. Arguing with my parents a lot. And I knew I was right. That's the crazy thing. And then now that I'm older, I'm even more vindicated, because it's insane. And now that I'm an adult, I realize I was right. Like, a lot of my instincts were right. And I was just ahead. I was just ahead of my parents. I don't really know how else to explain it. It's interesting, you know, but even now, like, even when things are abundantly clear that I was right, people still don't admit it. I'm used to dealing with that. But what I mean to say is, during this law of attraction, this spiritual enlightenment journey, mindfulness journey I was on, I genuinely reached that point where I did just react positively to almost everything. I didn't get in bad moods. I didn't have bad reactions to things. Things that I would have argued about, I just let go. And I genuinely just turned down anger at all costs. And it's crazy to think about, because it was only a period of time, but it was truly impressive. And again, I just attributed it as a manic episode, but I think there could have been something more to that. I'm imagining a timeline where I maintained that. I think I actually remember things kind of ended when school started. It was sort of like I got into it the end of 9th grade, and then the summer I was doing great. And then for actually a while of 10th grade I was fine, but then I just think eventually just having to go to school and really not liking that just kind of just soured. Like, I couldn't. Again, it's like a lazy thing, and it's, you know, I just, for some reason, I always struggled with laziness. But I think there was significance to that period of time. I honestly do. And I've really been thinking about trying to revisit that. Because I feel like for all of my life, I've always had to be everybody's parent. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like when I talk to people, I either have to be everybody's parent or I get pushed into just needing to be a moron. And there's not really any in between to that. You know, it's just always how I end up. I'm either like giving people advice that they should have already known, or I just act silly and say a lot of things that are silly. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. It's either one or the other. Is basically all of my social interactions, right? And I'm tired of that. Like, I do feel like, because I've done it before, I know it. It is possible to just be more positive. And I was better at that than I think anybody. And it is a decision. Now, this is part of the problem when it comes to being unfair, in my opinion, is that it is obviously far easier for someone in my position to feel that way, because there are a lot of people who are much poorer who don't get to that point of comfort. So it's much more difficult for people to move up. I guess it's like a snowball effect, right? It's like an exponential. It's really hard, I guess, to manifest things initially. But if you're already in a good position, it's going to be way easier to continue to manifest. And so everything's like that, right? And I think it further illustrates what I've been saying about whether elitism is fair or not is likely irrelevant. I think we know that it may not be fair, that this is how things work, but it appears to be true. And even when it comes to things like if I was able to become a monk, if I was able to become spiritually enlightened, it would still mostly probably come down to, again, the same thing. I mean, a combination of lifestyle, genetics, and intuition, and just luck, and kind of just picking things right. So it's fate, but it's also personal choice. And I don't know. So, like, earlier I got frustrated when I was letting someone go at the stop sign and then they decided to let me go, and there was a stall, and that's what I got upset about. But you do have control over these things. Like, I don't have to get upset at that. I just don't. It's not really that big of a deal. And I'm really working on, I'm really interested to try to figure this out, because I have been angry at the world, and I guess there's a depth to that. I guess I see there's a lot of truth in it with what's going on politically and systemically, and I genuinely feel like a lot of law of attraction people, they don't get it. Like, I almost think they kind of don't understand how bad things are. And then it causes them to, oh, well, things would be better if everybody just, like that kind of language. And I don't know. I think you would need a discerning populace to keep the politicians in check. And so I don't know that the law of attraction stuff really addresses every component. And I also don't think it's rooted in any kind of fairness. Although I suppose it is true that it's accessible. I mean, anybody can run that experiment of having positive reactions to things that they previously thought negatively of. Anybody can run that experiment. But it's so much easier for someone whose life is better. Because I mean, you know what though? In a way, maybe not. I mean, you could also make the argument if somebody's materially rich, they could actually not ever need to be conscious of any of this, because they could yell and whine and complain about everything that crosses their way, and it doesn't really matter. They still have plenty of money, and then they're at least going to believe that and continue to manifest more money. So I do think that's actually interesting to think about. You sort of have to cut to a point where you don't have too much money to blind you, but you still have enough money where you feel secure and you kind of like trust things, or I don't know. And it's possible I'll be there in a couple years of saving. So, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I guess I feel like whether it's fair or not, it's something I should try to partake in, because I've been given that. I've been given the understanding to do so, and most people wouldn't or couldn't. I don't think anybody would do that, would try to change themselves. I mean, all that people have is their ego and their connection to their ego, and it's such a big part of me and my personality to get upset at inefficiencies, to get upset when things are inefficient resource-wise, when things are inefficient when it comes to speed, when things are inefficient when it comes to communication. It has become my personality, and in a way, I think it always will be. I don't know that I can erase that part of me entirely, but I think it's the way that I react to things I could definitely be more in control of. And that's the thing, it is a choice. I mean, we get into the thought patterns and the feelings. We do choose it. Like, I genuinely believe that. I just think certain people are more advantageous to others to realize that, and it also does take, I believe, a certain cognitive level. I don't think every human is able to understand that possibility, and some people just can't figure it out. So there is a lot to consider with it, but I'm really hoping that this will be a direction for me to try to just be happier. And I really think I need to just try it. You know, I have my qualms with it. Like I said, I always wonder, well, you know, what if I could really help someone? Like, it's something important to argue about. It's concerning somebody I care about's health. And I feel bad because then it's like I don't really push hard enough. And then now it's a year later and things are even worse. And then, like, I'm trying to give advice and then it's just either arguing or ignoring. And, you know, you wonder, because I guess it's not my fault, but I kind of feel responsible because maybe I'm able to think clearer than the other person, and I could try to help or something, but I don't know. I'm not sure what the consensus is in terms of my path and my direction. I don't know if I have all the kinks ironed out yet, but I do have a good amount of interest in this trying to be happier thing. It's just seems like it would be more productive than wherever I was at previously. And especially recently too, there's been plenty of episodes where it's just miserable the whole time. And I'm not saying those things won't happen, but this is just an experiment and something I want to try to be mindful of. That I don't have to be negative about things. I mean, it is a choice. I mean, I'm choosing to just look at things that way and just react to things that way. I mean, I don't know. So whether you agree or not as a listener, it's something I think I'm going to pursue and experiment with, and we will document it, obviously, as over the course of this journey. Now, I could come back tomorrow and be like, oh yeah, forget all that stuff. Look at there's this problem and that problem. You know what I mean? That could be the case. I'm not expecting this is going to be an overnight thing, but it's something I have a genuine interest in. It's something I think is genuinely important, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, I think it would be good for me to just chill out and be happy and understand that the world isn't real. Now, I mean, I kind of said that as a joke, but it's something to genuinely think about, and how I really shouldn't judge others. It's just hard for me because I want things to be better, and that judgment happens when you have systemic understanding of things. It's so easy to just look at people and be like, if you just did this, or, you know, if you just did that, things would be great, and all this stuff that I've said plenty of times before, you know. I mean, it's nothing new, or it's nothing I haven't already understood. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult, and I guess that's what's difficult to me about it, because things do matter to me, and I want to spread and hope to cultivate people to care about things, and, you know, to drive their cars carefully, to not waste food, to try to live more efficiently. It's all things I really care about. But I think I have to learn to let go of that and just be at peace with who I am, because that's all anybody does anyways. It's just like, I feel like the weight of the world's on my shoulder, and I've been trying to save the world, and there's such a deep care in that and compassion, but it's just getting to the point where I just don't know anymore. You know, it's just, what does God want for me? What am I here to do? And so I guess I'll teach on here. This is a good outlet for me to kind of give my input on things. But I do want to just really put a concerted effort into trying to be happy, because I honestly think I'm one of the only people who is going to do that. I've interacted with a lot of people, and what I was able to pull off when I was 16 was amazing. And it took a lot of work to get there. It took months of spiritual study and I mean, really, it really took a lot for me to get to that point where I just always felt good. I just always felt happy. I just didn't argue. I just went with the flow. I mean, it took a long time, months. And then I remember it gradually, I gradually got out of it, but then it was fairly quick at the same time. Like, it was gradual but quick that I got out of it again. You know? It was gradual but quick. And it was just, I mean, I don't remember specifics, but it was just some argument. You know what I mean? Like, and I did say what I wanted to say about it. Like, I didn't hold my tongue as I had been. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. And then I just eventually just returned to my usual self. But it may be time to revisit that. Because a lot of times it just, I mean, it feels helpless to try to deal with people. I mean, I could really help so many people I care about so deeply, but none of them even, I don't even know if some people believe me. And that's kind of what I've realized about humans is they're so short-sighted. I mean, if I hear something and I disagree with it, I'm trying to figure out, whoa, is that true? Let's look into that. Like, let me figure out if, you know, my whole worldview turned upside down. Let me find out why. But most people don't even, apparently most people, when they hear something they don't know, they just say it's wrong. And it's been really taxing for me to interact with people in a world like that. But yeah, I mean, I really have to consciously try to get a handle on my worry. I'm a worrier. I've said that multiple times on this show. And it just has to stop. I think it's very important to be not a worrier, but a warrior. And so we'll see, because I'm not really sure where life will take me at this point. I've been in and out of so many different phases, and I just feel like I want peace, you know, and I want to reach that level again, because it felt good. It felt good to be happy. It felt good to be free. And then I guess the ego came back. It's weird how easy it is, though, to slip in and out. Well, no, it was hard to get to that point, but it was easy to slip out. But yeah, I mean, I have to start in little ways, you know. Having no reaction or even a positive reaction when somebody does something that I would have originally just, been grumpy about. It's interesting. We'll see where we go. We'll see how far we get. because I don't know. I think I'm too subject to turbulence. But my spirits have been better. I mean, I know earlier this week, and you know what I did want to say, because it's only Wednesday, and it feels like Thursday, so my clock is like ahead of schedule, which is never fun. I guess I've just been this week's kind of been dragging along, but in a way, I don't even have a problem with that, because it almost, I mean, you have to be at peace with the present. That's one of the things I was saying. Like, you can't, because nothing's different, you know? Nothing fundamentally changes, whether it's Monday or Saturday or Wednesday or Sunday. I mean, you still have to contend with yourself, you know? And so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's so much more I could get into. I mean, I'll probably remember the gist of the topic for tomorrow morning, maybe. And we will see how that goes. But as for now, it's been schla. And it's time to buy schla. So, see you schla.